Well, hello everyone. I'm Howard Berger from Realcomm, and I'm really happy to be here with a few gentlemen from our Venture Capital Advisory Council. And to my immediate right, I've got Lucas Turner-Owens, Principal, Building Ventures. In the center, we've got Laurent Grill, Partner, JLL Spark, and on the far end, we've got Zak Schwarzman, General Partner in MetaProp. So, gentlemen, let's, starting with you, Lucas, take a couple seconds to talk a little bit about Building Ventures, what you guys are doing, and we'll go down the road.
Sounds good. So, as you mentioned, I'm at Building Ventures. We have offices in Boston and San Francisco, and our thesis is a better built world. So we're focused on, improving both construction and real estate with investments in technology. And I think some portfolio companies that really highlight our thesis are companies like Measurable, which we feel is one of the industry standards for ESG certification in commercial real estate, and Adaptus, which is a decarbonization platform. That's the founder, Shada Shahi, is actually here today. So I'll talk more about them maybe in a minute.
Thanks.
Laurent Grill, partner with JLL Spark Global Ventures. We also are looking at the entire built world and the technologies that we're looking to implement. We are obviously backed by JLL. We are a global fund, so investing in technology not just within the US, but all over the world. And we're also excited to be here. We have a handful of portfolio companies, and we've heard great things, so thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Great. Zak Schwarzman, General Partner at MetaProp. We are a New York-based, primarily seed stage, discovery-oriented firm serving Proptech writ large, so very broad in our focus within the category. Fortunate to partner with some really excellent corporate partners and other institutional partners from across the real estate industry that collectively represent about 20 billion square feet worth of property around the world.
Awesome. Thanks, Zak. Lucas, Zak, I think this is your first time to a Realcomm. Laurent, you were with us last year, I remember. Correct. A little different this year than last.
A little different.
Yeah.
A little warmer.
Yeah.
Which is weird to say when you're leaving Las Vegas.
Yeah, but even, temperature, the environment notwithstanding, I think the conference itself is, you can see how it's kind of morphed into a probably a little bit more high touch, warm community. So I want to ask you guys, what's your first impression of your first Realcomm?
It's been great. I've been excited to hear how much sustainability has been a focus of the conversation. I was at the pre-comm conversations that took place.
Oh, good. What did you think of the case studies?
I thought the KingSet case study was great because we're digging into this question of how can you optimize existing systems. I think a lot of building stock that's here today is going to be with us for the next 30, 40, 50 years. So yes, we want to see greener new buildings, but also how do you improve oil boilers?
It's the retrofits. Yeah,
exactly.
That's where the gold is. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've been here before, but to your point, I think that you've done a great job of bringing together great individuals as well as companies. I think the industry as a whole is continuously getting smarter and learning more about how to implement some of these tools and technologies. So the conversations are a little bit, they're starting on a higher front. We're hopefully going to be able to move the needle in a more meaningful way as years continue to move on.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah. This is a pretty engaged community here. They talk to each other, they help each other out. There's a lot of collaboration, which is something I'm really proud of.
I mean, I would actually jump on that. What I've noticed is a lot of collaborative spirit between particularly the Proptech companies that are here, really nice opportunity to meet a lot of the customer base. And one of the things we noticed coming in was pretty good representation, almost to a surprising degree, from the bigger general tech companies that are here. So I think you have a lot of folks speaking common language and work in a pretty collaborative spirit.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see from some of the larger general tech companies, they're starting to get it. They're starting to understand, the importance of open systems and just really how to speak in better speak in customer terms to what the needs of the community, what the needs of their clients really are. So I've seen a maturity, so to speak, with some of the big firms. Let me just ask, as you guys have walked the floor probably and seen a lot of the companies, anything stand out, that maybe you hadn't seen before that that impressed you? I think we can speak.
I'm going to be
specifically.
biased. I'm excited to see a lot of my portfolio companies here doing good stuff. No, I mean, look, we obviously, my company JLL has we have representation here in a handful of ways as well. I think it's important to bring the large companies and the smaller startups together in a similar environment. It's always great to see kind of the collaboration that's happening there, and so that's, I'd say, the biggest thing that I noticed while spending time with all of the various individuals out there on the floor today.
Yeah. Zach, seen anything that?
I would echo that. When I'm catching up with our portfolio companies that are represented here, they've been speaking both about customer interest, but also a lot of partnership interest. And I think we're getting to this point in the maturity of the space where folks are, starting to specialize a little bit and figure out what part of the value chain that they might have been originally targeting they really want to play in, and figure out who might complement them and how they can work together a little more than they might have a couple of years ago. And I think this is a really nice forum to do that.
Yeah. I think there are no shortage of opportunities, for collaboration, integration of some of these technologies, both from the larger firms and, even collaboration among some of the smaller firms where the, 1 and 1 could equal 3.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's chat a little bit about, what you're seeing, in terms of trends in the industry.
Sure, I'm happy to kick off.
Technical difficulties.
I think one thing that's certainly true that I'm sure we've all seen is there's been an absolute decline in the number of deals and dollars going into prop tech and real estate tech, but I think there's more nuance to the story than that. I think that there's been an increase in investments in sustainability in the industry, and I also think there's been, as we all see, decline in office, there's also been an increase in other types of assets like data centers. So a lot of our capital comes from large GCs, domestic and abroad, who are seeing $1 billion, sometimes $2 billion, $3 billion data center projects come online. With that, their industry shifts, and instead of assembling on site with bulk materials, they're now putting 40% of that budget towards buying really complicated pieces of technology and installing them and thinking about interconnection and phasing and sequencing. And I highlight that to say that it opens up an opportunity for companies that are innovating around supply chain and workflow improvements. And so we're seeing that sort of change the industry on the construction side. And then, as I said, in the real estate side, just a lot more conversation around sustainability.
Yep. What do you think?
I mean, look, the hot topic, everyone talks about AI. I think that that is a core infrastructure that's going to exist across all verticals, not just within PropTech. And you mentioned that deals are declining. I think that one thing I will say is that in the last few months, I'm starting to see it coming back in a lot of positive ways. The last 18 months, 2 years, frankly, there's been a lot of money going in that maybe shouldn't have. And so I think it's a very positive thing for the overall ecosystem, because the best companies are going to survive, the best companies are going to thrive, and they're going to continue to grow. And so from our perspective, we're very excited about the focus that, honestly, the trials and tribulations of the last 18 months have forced upon the startup community, including our portfolio. And now I think there's a great opportunity to invest. So I actually am excited. The trend is going in this direction again, because there's a general understanding that unit economics and adapting to the current environment is important.
Can I just quickly build on that?
Yeah, no, I was thinking of something too. Go ahead.
Just to say that, in the kind of frothier market of 2021, I think you had a lot of tourist investors who weren't focused on the space. And a lot of those investments were in fintech kind of solutions, whether it's sort of for mortgage underwriting or brokerage listings. And in a rising rate environment, a lot of those companies folded.
That was the post-pandemic surge,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I would say if you zoom out, we are fortunate in a lot of ways as an industry that PropTech was able to grow up in a much looser capital environment, and that brought a lot of ideas to market. Those ideas and those companies have got winnowed out, and they've had to harden and really solidify their ROI propositions. But you wouldn't have nearly the vendor set that you have today if you'd had a tighter capital market, between 2015 and 2021, right? And so today, we've had to wait for a couple of years as that heat came off the industry. But now we're seeing companies that are survivors, that have really solidified a clear value proposition, established a good growth trajectory that's much more sustainable. A lot of them are represented here today. And then you also now have a new generation, as the market's reset and cooled off for a while, of new entrepreneurs that are coming out, filling new gaps, and riding new technology waves. That's really exciting. And that's
really
exciting. A lot of new,
I've seen some
new
good
ideas
stuff
to fund the market.
Yep. Just curious. I mean, You got a lot of investors that got burned. We all did over the last few years. What are investors asking for right now?
We're hearing a lot of demand from some of our LPs for solutions that will enable, I think, procurement insight, like spend insight. We're also hearing a real need for tools that help them manage their labor pool. I think those are two kind of pain points that we're hearing. But I'll open it up to the rest of the panel.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a really clear ROI prop. I mean, that's fairly high level and generic, but you cannot come in selling the promise of something.
Well, when capital's tight, you got to have ROI.
Can't be a nice to have.
No.
Can't be a nice to have.
Has to be a need to have. Has to be something that's very clear, low hanging fruit.
Yeah,
and needs that
easily definable and easily articulated,
Yes.
easily definable.
Yeah. Or you're selling something that's going to future-proof someone's business, right?
I'm sorry?
You're going to sell something that's going to future-proof someone's business. That's a smaller number of companies, but they do exist.
And there's a lot of industries that are being developed off of what we've seen in terms of boom. So if you take AI, it's very easy to focus on AI, but there's a lot of various things. You mentioned data centers, right? There's within our specific environment, the amount of infrastructure and technology that's going to be dedicated towards the development of and the need for data centers, the energy that's going to be required in order to bring, these data centers up to speed. So there, you could really, once you look, we always often look at like, oh, look at all the cool, flashy products, AI, sustainability, but ultimately what we have to look at is the infrastructure under that's going to power this entire trend.
All the secondary and tertiary additional effects, yeah. Well, that's obviously huge. That's huge, and it also is not without challenges, of course.
100%.
Yeah.
But I mean, the pain always happens first in our industry. The success happens last. And so I think it's a very difficult thing for people to sometimes stomach is the fact that in venture, it's a long play. We're investing in not 2 years, we're investing in 10, 15 years. And unfortunately, the ones that don't succeed happen within the first 2 or 3 years, and it can often look really bad. But if you take a step back and look at the bigger picture, you have, let's say you have 100 companies and 60 of them fail in the first 3 years. You're like, oh my God, what a disaster. But those 40 might be the biggest game-changing deals, and frankly, it's probably more like 15 of those if we're lucky. So.
Yeah, and I think that those challenges kind of they kind of incentivize our innovators to take a longer view of what solutions, what problems they're trying to, instead of a single point solution problem that's not scalable. Taking a harder look at what are the secondary and tertiary steps that are going to come after that, play a longer game, and I think they're coming out. I'm seeing much more intelligent solutions.
Yeah, ultimately, a lot of point solutions are going to eventually come together to create more of a platform approach where we can actually have a lot more integration ahead of time rather than having to pull together.
But you start with interoperability and open, as your beginning point, rather than having to butt your head against it later on. Yeah.
And I think, to your question about what our investors are asking, we have to, as investors, balance, this identifying opportunities that are really solving a problem in the next couple quarters that they can easily articulate to their, CEO, with solutions like a Yardi that could eventually have the, whole industry and have an audacious goal that isn't realized really quickly, right, early in their life. So.
Yep. So I think we're out of time, gentlemen.
Fantastic.
This is a great conversation. I really thank you, and I thank you all for, coming, participating, bringing your portfolio companies, and supporting our efforts to try to get those portfolio companies better connected with the community for a couple of reasons. Because we have folks out here that might be interested in partnering or investing, but also I think it's important for them to talk to their community of end users and understand some of the other companies out there in the market so they can better bring those conversations and those insights back into their own products. So again, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
And I think it's a wrap.
Great to see you.